Welcome to the deep dive. Well, if you've glanced at your update notifications lately, you probably know what we're diving into today.
Oh, yeah.
September 2025's Patch Tuesday from Microsoft. It was, quite something. A staggering 80 security flaws addressed in one go.
80 is definitely a big number, but, what's really telling isn't just the count, it's the type of flaws.
Right.
This wasn't just about volume. It gives us this really clear snapshot of where attackers are focusing their efforts right now.
And that focus seems to be shifting, doesn't it?
Massively. The snapshot shows a pretty definitive pivot. Attackers seem less hung up on the initial break-in and far more interested in what happens after they're inside.
Yeah.
We're talking post-exploitation, specifically privilege escalation.
Exactly. So our mission here today is to kind of cut through that noise for you. We want to zero in on those vulnerabilities, the ones where just clicking update isn't actually enough.
Right, the ones needing more legwork.
Yeah, the configuration changes you have to make. Thinking about things like SMB hardening, BitLocker settings, and really understanding why this elevation of privilege, or EOP thing, is suddenly top of the list.
And just for context, on those 80 flaws, 8 were rated critical, 72 important, and crucially, none were known to be exploited in the wild as 0 days when the patches dropped.
Good point. So no immediate panic, but definitely strategic concerns.
Exactly. We're not just, reading out CVE numbers. We want to talk about what these trends mean for your actual defense strategy day to day.
Okay, let's unpack that breakdown then. The raw numbers are pretty stark.
They are.
Out of 80 vulnerabilities, 38 were elevation of privilege, EOP. That's what? Nearly half? 47.5%?
Almost exactly half, yeah. Compare that to remote code execution, RCE, that was 22 flaws, and information disclosure was 14.
So EOP is way out in front.
That ratio, that's the headline here.
Yeah.
And it really does suggest a strategic shift in what attackers are doing. Satnam Narang over at Tenable pointed this out. It's the third time this year that Microsoft has patched more EOP flaws than RCE flaws.
Third time. Wow.
Yeah. And think about what that means. RCE is often about getting in the door, right? The initial breach.
The smash and grab.
Kind of, yeah. But EOP, that's what you need after you're already inside. When almost half the patches are for flaws that let attackers gain higher permissions.
It means they're getting in.
It strongly suggests they're successfully breaching the perimeter more often, and their focus is now on maximizing their impact inside the network, moving around, getting admin rights.
So their main goal isn't just breaking down the front door anymore. Maybe because they've found ways around the locks already.
Could be. Or they just assume they will get in eventually.
And now it's all about getting the keys to the kingdom once they're inside. System access, domain admin.
That's the prize. And for anyone managing a network, well, this really shifts where you need to be putting your effort, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. I mean, perimeter defense is still vital, obviously. You can't just leave the door open.
Of course not.
But this data is screaming that you need to prioritize defending against threats already inside your network.
Right. Things like configuration management, stopping lateral movement, reducing the potential blast radius if something does go wrong. That stuff becomes paramount.
Okay, so let's pivot to something specific then, because this is where it gets really interesting. One of the most critical flaws needs immediate attention, and it perfectly illustrates this point about configuration.
You mean the SMB one?
Exactly. CVE 2025-55234, publicly known before Patch Tuesday. An EOP flaw in Windows SMB scoring a pretty high 8.8 on the CVSS scale.
Yeah, that one's a textbook example. Adam Barnett from Rapid7 nailed it when he said, simply patching isn't enough for this one.
Why not? What makes it different?
Because the vulnerability itself enables these classic relay attacks against the SMB server. But the reason it works often comes down to configuration settings.
Okay, explain that bit. How is it configuration, not just flawed code?
Well, the issue arises from how SMB sessions can sometimes be set up. Basically, if certain key security measures aren't enforced. We're talking specifically about requiring SMB signing and also extended protection for authentication EPA.
Right, those hardening policies.
If you haven't mandated those in your environment, the server might still establish a session without fully validating who's connecting and how securely.
So the patch fixes the specific code bug Microsoft found.
Correct.
But if an admin hasn't also enabled SMB signing and EPA, it's like, I don't know, installing a brand new vault door but leaving the combination taped to the front.
That's a pretty good analogy, actually.
Yeah.
The attacker intercepts an authentication attempt, maybe NTLM, and just relays it forward to the target server, pretending to be the original user.
And that lets them do what? Steal credentials, move lateral.
All of the above. Credential theft, lateral movement across the network, potentially data exfiltration. It's a standard playbook for internal network attacks.
So what does the Microsoft patch actually do then, if not fully fix it?
The patch enables auditing support. It lets you check if your SMB clients are compatible with enforcing server signing and EPA before you actually turn those policies on everywhere.
Ah, okay. So it's a safety step. Check first, then enforce.
Exactly. It's a crucial first step because just flipping the switch might break older systems or applications you need to assess first. But the key takeaway is you must follow through with the assessment and eventually the enforcement. Just installing the patch leaves that configuration gap wide open.
That difference between patching the code and hardening the policy, that's the critical lesson here, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's becoming more and more common.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about the highest theoretical risks, the really critical vulnerabilities, even if some don't need direct customer action. We're talking CVSS 10.0.
The perfect score. Yep, that belongs to CVE 2025-54914. It's a critical privilege escalation flaw, this time impacting Azure networking.
10 point. Oh, that's maximum severity. Now, the good news, as you said, is it's in the cloud infrastructure, so Microsoft patches it. We don't have to do anything directly.
All right.
But
Yeah.
should we just ignore it then? Why highlight a 10.0 if it's Microsoft's problem?
Well, I think it's important because it highlights the fundamental risks that still exist, even in these massive, sophisticated cloud environments. Even components we totally rely on Microsoft for, like the core Azure networking fabric, can have vulnerabilities of the absolute highest severity.
So it's a reminder that cloud doesn't automatically mean invulnerable.
Exactly. It reminds us that even though we don't do the patching for that layer, the architectural risk is still very real. Vigilance is needed from the vendor and also in how we design our own systems on top of it.
Okay, fair point. Now back to things we do potentially need to patch. There was also a nasty remote code execution flaw, right? In the high-performance compute pack.
Yeah, Microsoft HPC pack. That was CVE 2025-55232, scoring a 9.8, almost a perfect 10.
And HPC environments, they often handle really sensitive data, complex calculations, and RCE there sounds pretty devastating.
It definitely could be. And sticking with high scores, we also need to talk about that elevation of privilege issue in Windows NTLM.
Ah, yes, good old NTLM. Still hanging around.
Still kicking. That was CVE 2025-54918 with a CVSS of 8.8. Kev Breen pointed out that this one could let an attacker gain system-level privileges just by sending specially crafted network packets.
System privileges, that's game over territory. And again, it feeds that whole EOP trend we talked about.
Exactly. And interestingly, the patch notes for that NTLM flaw sort of suggest that the attacker might already need some initial foothold.
Like credentials.
Yeah, maybe compromised credentials, or perhaps they've already grabbed an NTLM hash somehow. It reinforces the idea that many of these high-impact flaws are about escalating privileges after an initial compromise, therefore hackers already inside.
Makes sense. It wasn't just Microsoft's own code either, was it? I saw something about a third-party component.
Oh, right. Newtonsoft.json, a denial of service vulnerability in that library.
Which is used everywhere.
Pretty much. In this case, Microsoft noted its use within SQL Server. So a flaw in a common library like that can ripple out and cause problems in major applications.
Right.
Managing those third-party dependencies is a whole separate challenge.
Definitely a headache. Okay, let's move to something a bit different now. Physical access and protecting data on the hard drive itself.
BitLocker.
BitLocker, exactly. Microsoft's full disk encryption. There were 2 new EOP vulnerabilities patched there, CVE 2025-549 alum and 54912. Scores were 7.3 and 7.8.
Yep, and these aren't isolated incidents. They add to, I think, 4 other similar BitLocker bypass flaws that were patched back in July.
Right, the bit unlocker flaws.
That's the collective name, yeah.
Yeah.
Things like exploiting WinRAR apps or reagent.xml parsing. The pattern is pretty clear.
And the goal is?
The goal for an attacker with physical access, someone who actually has their hands on the laptop, is to find a way around BitLocker's pre-boot protections to get at the encrypted data on the drive.
So it really drives home that encryption isn't magic if someone can mess with the boot process before the encryption keys are properly protected.
Precisely. Physical security and strong encryption have to go hand in hand.
So given these flaws target physical access, what are the concrete steps organizations should take beyond just patching the specific CVEs?
Microsoft's own researchers, the Storm team, had some clear recommendations for hardening BitLocker. 2 main things.
Okay.
First, Strongly consider enabling TPM plus PN for pre-boot authentication.
So not just relying on the TPM chip itself, but requiring the user to enter a PIN before Windows even starts loading.
Exactly. That adds a significant hurdle. Now, an attacker needs physical access, and they need to know or guess the user's PIN. It dramatically reduces the attack surface for these kinds of pre-boot bypasses.
That sounds really effective. I can already hear the help desk groaning. Managing pins across thousands of devices, users forgetting them, that sounds like a huge operational challenge.
It is. No doubt about it. It's a definite trade-off between security and operational friction. But, if you're dealing with highly sensitive data, regulatory requirements,
Yeah.
the security gain might absolutely justify the extra overhead.
What was the second recommendation?
Enabling the revised mitigation. This is more technical, but basically it enforces secure versioning for critical boot components. It stops attackers from rolling back boot firmware or drivers to older, known vulnerable versions as part of their attack chain. It prevents downgrade attacks.
Okay, so TPM plus PI for user interaction, revise for component integrity.
Got it.
Those are the key hardening steps beyond the patches themselves.
Now, if we thought physical access attacks targeting BitLocker were concerning, there's apparently a new technique that weaponizes BitLocker for network escalation remotely.
Yes, BitLock move.
BitLock move sounds ominous.
It's quite sophisticated, yeah. Detailed by the folks at Purple Team, specifically Fabian Mosch. It's clever because it abuses two generally trusted Windows components, BitLocker itself and Windows Management Instrumentation, or WMI. WMI, that's the remote administration tool, right?
Essentially, yes. It's like the remote control panel for managing Windows machines across a network.
Okay, so walk us through how BitLock Move works. How does an attacker use WMI and BitLocker together remotely?
So the attacker first needs some level of access to connect remotely via WMI to the target machine. Let's say they have domain user credentials already.
Okay, standard starting point for lateral movement.
Right. Then they use WMI to remotely tell the target machine to do a couple of things. First, they might copy their malicious DLL file over to the target, maybe using SMB.
SMB again. See how these things connect.
Yep. Then, the clever part, they use WMI to write a specific new registry key. This registry key points to their malicious DLL, and it's designed to hijack a legitimate BitLocker process.
Hijack how?
It tricks a specific BitLocker-related COM object component Windows needs into loading the attacker's malicious DLL instead of the real one it was supposed to load.
Wow. So they're using the system's own management tools to basically inject their code